Hello everybody, I'm Avian and we are working through how to build a Stardew Valley mod using my garden cottage mod. Today we're going to go over how to do a custom fruit tree. Let me go ahead and get everything up so you can see. So the first thing with your custom fruit trees is you're going to want to make a sprite. You can use the existing Stardew fruit trees as a template. In my garden cottage mod, I have made a Macintosh apple tree. So I've taken the apple tree stages. So we have your baby, your young sapling, your medium age sapling, your almost grown sapling, and then your full grown tree. And for the full grown tree, you're going to have spring, summer, fall, and winter. And then you also want to have your stump asset over here along with the seasonal leaves for when you shake the tree and the leaves kind of pop off. So again, if you copy the template format and the sizes off the existing Stardew trees, that'll give you the size and the placement you need for your assets to work. And then once you have that, you can start making your trees and the fruit and everything that will come off of your trees. I'm going to go over to my objects JSON. So you can make your own JSON for trees if you'd like. I only have the one tree in my mod so far, so I currently have it all in my objects JSON. So you would set it up for your fruit. You'd set that up just like you do any other object, where you have log name, edit data, data objects, and this is why I've put mine in with my objects because it all goes in there. And then if we go down to my here we go, Macintosh apple. So Macintosh apple is the apple that is going to grow on this fruit tree. So what you need to do is we're going to need to set up code in 3 separate spots. We're going to need to make a section for the fruit itself. We're going to need to make a section for the sapling that grows the tree. And then the last bit is we make the code for the tree to grow in the first place. I like to start with the fruit and the sapling because those are the whole reason for having the tree. And I'll actually show you the objects I made. You have to actually draw. Let's see. So if I open my objects, you can see down here I have my apple for the Macintosh apple. And then over in the other corner, I have my sapling sprite. So you'll want to include those in your objects as well. And those are just your standard object sprite, just like you would do any other objects. So for the apple, it's just like we went over when we set up our objects in the other video, is you have the name of your fruit. So this is the internal name that the code uses. This is the name for you, your display name. In my case, it's calling my translation key. Your description, which for me is also calling a translation key. And if you need to see how to do that, you can look at our translation key video. For fruit, the type is basic. The category I have is -79. Your price would be whatever price you want the fruit to sell for. Your texture, just like with your objects, if you put it in the same spot, like I did, I have all my objects on one asset, so I'm calling that particular asset. So it's mod ID, and objects for me. My sprite index for the fruit is number 20. Let's see, open that again. So remember, when you enter your sprite index, when you count your object sprite placement, the top left-hand corner is 0. So it'd be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on and down until you reach 20, which is where my apple is. So you want to make sure, so like the cookies, for example, would be 7, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. and the balloon animals start on 8 because you count 0. So just a reminder about that, because if I had put 19, I would have gotten my tea sprite instead of my apple sprite. So I don't need a color index frame, so I've set that to false. The fruit is edible. It's not a drink. I don't have any buffs associated with this. And all of these things you can find in the chart on the wiki with the objects page. So basically, I just put them in, filled them out as was appropriate for my apple. And then I had to choose, the hardest part about the apple was I had to choose a tag for the color. And I chose yellow because when I find them at the store, they're more yellow than red, even though there is some red on them. Also that it is a fruit item and a fruit tree item. And the same thing applies to when you set up your sapling, as you enter it exactly like you would any other object. So we have the sapling information directly under it. The main difference is that I've named it sapling, that my translation keys will reflect that it is still non-edible, but in this case it is category -7.4. And again, you can find this information on the wiki for whatever category you are setting up for what grows on your tree. I will link those in the description, and I'll go over the wiki page in a moment here. The sprite index for my sapling is 18. And again, all of the rest is set up exactly like you would any other object. So let me pull up the wiki page. So this is the modding objects page. This is where you can find all of those tags in the object setup, as well as full descriptions as to what each field does. So you can go through here and see if there's anything here that you need that is relevant for the object you are creating to grow on your tree. For me, because I did an apple, I was mostly focused on the edibility. Is it a drink? Are there buffs? Things like that. There are different context tags and everything you can look at. The second page you want to look at is the modding items page, where this is going to give you your categories and fields. You scroll down to this chart over here with the colors and everything. So we were on 74 and 79. So if you look in this side, the value is the value you're going to put there in your code. The context tag is the tag you can use. And then the type is going to be over here under English translation. So what I was looking for, since I was making a fruit tree, was this fruit category, which is -7.9. The category is category underscore fruits. And then for the sapling was seeds category was -7.4. So I used seeds because I did not see sapling in the list. And it seems to, so far it seems to have worked. I still have a little bit of testing to do, but so far so good. And we have, if I need to change it, I would go through here and find where to change it. Making sure I have it, because now I'm second guessing myself. Seeds. And then we also have the modding fruit tree page. So this is specifically the information for the fruit tree, which we're about to go over. Yes, so this is where I got the clue, was in the example here, to use the seeds for the sapling, because that is what is shown in the example. And so that is what I used, and it seems to work. Okay, so down to how to set up your fruit tree so it grows. So I'm going to go down to that section of my code, which is at the bottom here. Macintosh tree, crop, recipes. Okay, yes, so right here. So if we look at the Modding Fruit Trees wiki, This also has a table with all of the information we need. So you have your field and the values that can go in depending on what you want to do, and it explains each one here. And then they give you the example for the puffer tree down in the example section that you can reference, which is largely how I figured out how to do this, was looking at this example and comparing the fields to what I needed. So for a tree setup, you will of course be in changes in trees, sorry, will of course be in changes in your JSON. You're going to start with a set of curly brackets for your section. And then just like I usually do, we will have our log name and then what you want your log to read. Should it pop up in an error screen, I put add Macintosh tree because that will tell me exactly where to go if there's an error. Your action, and then followed by edit data, which is again something we've done a lot in these videos. Your target this time is going to be data/fruit trees. You'll notice that fruit trees is all one word with the F and the T are capitalized. And then that is going to be followed by an entries section, which is entries, and you have your colon, and then you're going to have your set of curly brackets. You want to make sure you put your open and closed brackets, and I put a line break in between because everything in the entries field is going to go between those brackets. You then want to put in the name of your sapling, which is why I set up my sapling and my fruit first, because that information needs to be plugged into the entries field. And then after the name of your sapling, you're going to put another set of curly brackets, again, open and closed, then put a line break in between because it all falls between those brackets for the sapling. You will do a display name for your sapling, and I've got my translation key, and the season in which it will be blooming in. You can do multiple seasons. If I wanted to do multiple seasons, I would have put a comma and then the next season. So say we want to add summer here, it'll be comma, quotes, summer. And then it would be fall and summer. For my tree, I just wanted fall. But you would do seasons, colon, and seasons, it's going to be a set of square brackets. And then between the quotes will be the season you want your tree to bloom in. And again, if you want more than one, you separate them by a comma, and each season is between its own set of quotes. After your square brackets, you will put a comma, and your fruit will now be the next bit. So it's going to be fruit, colon, another set of square brackets. And then you're going to follow that by a set of curly brackets. So your brackets are kind of bookending everything to keep them in place. So then inside that set of fruit brackets, you will have ID. And for your ID, you're going to need to use the exact name you named your fruit. So if I look at this, you'll see all the way up at the top here where I have my fruit that it is. Let me find my fruit. It should be exactly the same. It's underneath the marigold. There it is. You see I highlighted it below, and then it highlights in VS Code everything that's exactly the same. And in this case, you can tell that it is exactly the same. So you want to remember to do that. And item ID, again, is going to be exactly the same. So both of these values will be the name you have given your fruit. So in my case, it's mod ID underscore Macintosh Apple. And again, this is a token. This set of curly brackets with mod ID inside calls the mod ID from my manifest page and replaces that. And that way I know that my name is not accidentally duplicated by another mod somewhere, which can happen because lots of people like to make similar things. And like, if say you made somebody else made a Macintosh apple tree and named theirs Macintosh apple tree as well, or Macintosh apple. If I did not have my mod ID there would be a chance that there would be a bug if both of our mods were installed. But since this is mod ID, it's going to have my mod ID _ Macintosh Apple, and the other mod would have their own name, and then there's not a conflict there because it's highly unlikely that anybody would have exactly the same mod name as well. The next section after you've closed out your fruit brackets, as you can see I did right there, is going to be your texture. This is going to be where you pull your sprite texture from, and this is going to be loaded in. I loaded mine in on my content JSON, I believe, so I will open that up and show you in a second. But you're going to do texture : it's going to be mods / mod ID / fruit trees. My sprite row is 0 because I only have the one sprite sheet set up. And as for how you load this in, let me just get that open and I will show you. Okay, so load fruit tree texture. So to load in your fruit tree texture, see this section right here. I put this in my content JSON because that is the first JSON file I have to load for the mod, so this makes sure everything is loaded in before anything needs it. I put log name tree texture. Your action is going to be load. Your target is going to be mod ID / fruit trees. You'll notice that this is exactly the same as what this is over in our tree information section. So you want to be sure that's the same. And then from file is going to be your file path, followed by your file name. And you want to make sure that you put your file type at the end. And that is fairly simple. And now when my tree is planted, a tree that follows this sprite sheet will grow. So trees will always follow the same pattern for growth stages, where it'll be in this each growth stage so many days, unless there's like a weed or something right up there interrupting it. So unlike crops, which we will do in a different video, you do not need to set the stages for how many days the tree is in each stage, because that is something that is already coded in, and all of the trees follow the same pattern, which is why it's so easy to make the tree sprite, because all of our trees have the same 4 stages of growth, 4 seasons, a stump, and some leaves on the sprite sheet. So I hope this information was helpful, and that if you decide to make a custom tree, that you now have the information you need in order to do that. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful day.